Hey guys, welcome to Chickenlandia and welcome to Bucktalk, your 100% friendly backyard chickens show. And I just now realized I did not test my mic before I got on today. So can you even hear me? I hope you can. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I hope so, because this like the whole thing is, this is a podcast. So hoping for the best. It usually is working. So the light's on. So we're going to assume it's working. So today we are going to talk about sudden chicken death. And this isn't really a fun topic, but hopefully I can shed some light on it for you guys, as much light as I can, because it is a mystery and it's really hard to deal with. And we're also going to talk a little bit about fatty liver in chickens. So that is coming up. And I do have a listener and a viewer question that I'm going to bring into this today. And if you would like to submit a question to Bucktalk, you can go to my website, welcometochickenlandia.com. Go to the contact section, and there's a little drop-down menu that says Ask a Chicken Question. Now, I have had a few people in the last couple of weeks tell me that it wasn't working for them, and we just ran a test to make sure the contact section is working. And it worked for us, but if it doesn't work for you, just email me at president@welcometochickenlandia.com, okay? And just put in the subject line a chicken question. But while you're on my website, you should definitely join my mailing list. You should join Chickenlandia Nation, because in Chickenlandia Nation, you get all the awesome Chickenlandia news and stories first. So go ahead and do that. And while you're there, you might want to check out my new course. It is called Chickenlandia's Backyard Chickens 101, a chicken course for everyone. So if you want to level up your chicken keeping, that might be something that interests you. And you can also find that on my website or at course.welcometochickenlandia.com. So I want to take a minute and just say hello to everyone in the chat. I see Rhiannon is here, and we are going to answer her question today. And Jenna is here. Thank you for being here. Matthew and Nessie, I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, but thank you for being here. The Chicken, thanks for being here. Barbara C says, hello from Tucson. It's 90 degrees today. Woo. I think it got into the 60s here today, so it's been quite nice. Cubier Camacho, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thank you for being here. LT is here. Eddie Abernathy is here. Ooh, lots of people here. Thank you so much for being here, guys. So I just want to get right into the content. Like I said, we are talking today about a sad topic in Chickenlandia and in chicken yards all across the world: sudden chicken death. So I want to start out with a little story. It is about a sweet, sweet chicken of mine. She was from my first flock, and her name was Pinga. And as I say that, I also need to apologize, because I have a friend, she's from South America. I can't remember what country she's from. And she said, that's a bad word in my country. I'm sorry. Actually, it is from the show. There's a children's animated show called Pingu, and it's about a penguin, and it's really cute. And the penguin has a little girlfriend, and her name is Pinga. So that's what that's from. It's not referring to anything else other than that. So, sorry about that. She was a very sweet chick. She was broody all the time. Like her whole life, she was broody. And in fact, she hatched out a little duck, and that duck was like her friend her whole life. The little duck's name was Duckaloo, and it was just adorable. She was a great chicken, and then finally, and like broody all the time, and then finally she was, I think, about 6 or 7 years old, and she just like stopped being broody. Her comb got nice and red and big, and she was laying. It was springtime. She was super happy, pecking and scratching, being with the flock. And I mean, this chicken she would lay like a few eggs and then be broody, and that would just be like her life. And, I feel like I just could not even break her of it. She was just such a stubborn broody. But so she was just having the time of her life at about 6 or 7 years old. And then one day I walked out to the chicken yard, and she was just dead in the yards. Like, she just laid down and died. And I was like, what? And I picked her up, and she was in wonderful condition. She was healthy. She had a full crop. She had, really good looking comb and wattles. And you can tell a lot just from looking at a chicken's comb, how they're doing. She had just great body condition. And I was like, what happened? Like, why did she just die like that? And I really spent a lot of time asking myself that question. And I knew, well, this is sudden chicken death. And I know that I wasn't alone in that experience. I knew it then. Sorry, I'm getting text messages while we're talking, and I don't know how to turn it off. I knew it then, but it doesn't really make it any easier, just like the mystery of it. But at least I knew that I was not alone. And I know that because I cannot tell you how many people send me messages saying that they've had a similar experience, and also just like going over and over in their head, like, what did I do wrong? And I think that's the default for a lot of people. They're like, okay, how can I fix this? And what did I do wrong? And how can I keep this from happening again? But sudden chicken death is not that simple. And so just to kind of help you I don't know if you can get more understanding about it, because it's a mystery every time it happens, but maybe I can kind of shed some light on it and maybe change the way that you feel about it if it has happened to you. And I'm going to do that by sharing with you an email that I got from a very good follower of mine. She's taken my course. She has been following me on my YouTube channel, and her name is Rhiannon. And she sent me an email, and this is what she said. I am writing you for a little help and possibly a learning experience for others if and when you might feel this is relevant. I found my sweet ducky, a golden lace Wyandotte, dead in the chicken run. Her eyes were closed, and it looked as if she just froze mid-chicken stretch. And that is very common. Chickens often will seize when they die, so it's common to find them kind of contorted when they are dead. I was confused and devastated. Because of the wealth of knowledge you share with us, thank you, it occurred to me that I should get a necropsy done. And being that we had no idea what happened, that's what she wanted to do. So surprisingly, it was only $35. So that was great that she decided to do that and just get as much information as she could get. The doctor's findings were that she had fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. She said too many high energy foods and not enough exercise. I feel horrible for my sweet girl, but I am extremely glad that I got the necropsy done and even knew what that was, because now I know I need to make some changes as soon as possible to get my other 3 chickens on the right path. So she goes on to explain what she's feeding her chickens, which is excellent. She tells me that they have free range time, that they have a ton of room, they have enrichment, which is all excellent. They have access to pasture. These are all great things. And I know that this is someone, like, she has taken my course. She has done all the things for her chickens and continues to do all the things for her chickens. This is like somebody that really cares and really is giving them excellent, top-notch care. So it made me feel sad, just to get the email and see that she was like, oh, basically, like, I feel bad. What have I done? And I could totally understand that, because I've absolutely been there, and that's how I felt. Like, what could I have done differently so that this didn't happen? And I don't want to go against what her vet said. But I honestly think that most of the time, when you lose a chicken to sudden chicken death, which can be caused by fatty liver, it can be caused by a heart attack, it can have something to do with egg laying, it can have something to do with something that, even went wrong in incubation, or a genetic issue. I just think most of the time, if that chicken is getting good care, if they're getting good nutrition, if they have enough space, if they're living in a low stress environment, that it's probably not anything that the chicken keeper did to make that happen. And this is absolutely what I immediately thought when I saw this email. And it further solidified in my mind when she sent me the report that she got, which I have right here. So this is the necropsy report. And it says in the final diagnosis comment, death is due to fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome. The cause is unknown. So that's really important, because the vet had said, oh, it's fatty liver. It's probably from, that you didn't feed that the chicken was eating too much or eating too many high energy foods. But in reality, we don't know why this happens. We can guess why it happens, but that's not necessarily what happened. It is usually associated to fatty liver and large amounts of fat deposition. Proposed causes include, so it includes this. This is not, definitely what it is, but it could be excessive dietary energy intake. It could be hereditary. It says right here, lack of exercise, and high egg production. So, and then it goes on to say what good condition this chicken was in, which I'm not surprised, because she was taking really good care of them. So basically, hemorrhagic syndrome, it's a metabolic disorder, and when it happens with backyard chickens, there are a number of factors involved as to why it happens. And it's different from when a chicken in a factory farm would get it. A chicken living with quotes in a factory farm, because chickens living in a factory farm have very little life. They don't get good exercise. They are very possibly eating too much because they don't move around. They can't. They don't have a lot of space. And they live under immensely stressful conditions. So this all contributes to a syndrome like this. And so that's why I feel like, well, telling somebody who has chickens in a backyard situation where they have enough space, they have good nutrition, they're being cared for very well, that they're being overfed and not exercising enough, that's definitely not the whole story, but it's information that is really coming through the lens of research that has been done for factory farms. Okay, but and that's where we get a lot of our information. A lot of studies are done in a factory farm setting, and there's not that as many studies done on chickens that are actually living, a nice life. So it's tough. It's tough for me when I get there's my dogs. When I see information that people are taking to heart, and I'm like, oh, but we have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because it's not really the full picture of what your specific chicken, the kind of life that they were living. So, and it doesn't mean that backyard chickens don't get fatty liver. They can. And certainly if they're being overfed, if you're giving them, so-called junk food, they don't have the right nutrition, they don't have the right space, then those are recipes for fatty liver and other kinds of diseases. But if you're doing all the right things, then I would tend to lean toward genetics, and the fact that, especially if it was a production breed, and especially if it is in a period of high egg production, because that is when, these kinds of things can strike. So that, and hot weather also, high stress situations and hot weather can also contribute. So I just, sudden chicken death, it could be so many different things, but the one thing that I want to let people know that, if you're taking good care of your chickens and you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, they're living a good chicken life, then the one thing I want you to walk away from this with is that it is very probably not anything that you did. And so I hope that having that little bit of perspective will help. Rhiannon, I really hope it helps you. And I hope it helps anyone else that is possibly dealing with something like this or will deal with it in the future. Because, the bottom line is, any chicken, like if you have a chicken and they die, you need to just remember that chicken, regardless of even how long they lived, their quality of life is better, or was better, than most chickens in the world, because they have space, they have care, they have love, they have good food, treats, and enrichment and all that stuff. And most chickens in the world don't have that. So that's what I want you to walk away with today. Okay. So I want to say hello to some of the people in the chat before we move on. I see Celeste Ness is here. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Jane Cannon is here. I hope I'm saying your name right. Oh, from Ontario, Canada. That's where my husband's from. TC Hendrick, thank you so much for being here. And Brilliant Creatures is here. Jackalope Jill, thank you so much for being here. Oh, the Chicken Master is here. Thank you for being here. Andrea Burke. Lots of people here today. A and MH. Thank you so much for being here. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the chat. And if you have a question about chickens, you can ask it in the chat and I will do my best to answer you. Sometimes I get stumped and I don't think we have she is here. So the Chickenlandia presidential advisor is here today. She is on the Chickenlandia team. She's actually she's also a, what do you call it? Oh my gosh. She's an instructor. She is an instructor in the course that Chickenlandia has right now. Chickenlandia's Backyard Chickens 101, a chicken course for everyone. She's one of my instructors, a co-instructor on that course. So you might hear from her if you do take that course. And it's interactive. So if you ask questions and stuff, we're in there answering them as soon as we can. So she will help me if I get stumped on any questions today. Oh, and Abigail Pack said, excellent course. Thank you so much. Oh, and Deborah Bjornson says, it's hard to hear, but we do lose chickens. They have short lives. Yes. It's funny, like they have short lives, and yet sometimes they're surprisingly long. Like right now I have chickens that are like, I have one that's probably either 10 or 11. And I have many that are approaching that age. And it's tough. It's hard. Like, it's never long enough, you know? But it is important for us to know how long that they can live, and that sometimes they don't live very long. And especially chickens that have been bred to lay so many eggs, like these production breeds, they're really pushed to lay. And those kinds of genetics, sometimes they come with a cost. So it's important to know that. And that cost has nothing to do with anything that you did wrong in most cases. Okay, so Jenna asked a question. My chicken is laying eggs without shells. What do I do? Well, Jenna, the first thing I want you to do is just evaluate nutritionally what your chicken is getting. Make sure that they're getting enough calcium in their diet. Make sure that they have clean water, that they're getting enough hydration. And if you haven't, then you need to make sure that they're getting a calcium supplement, either oyster shell or their own crushed eggshells. You can crush them up and give them back to them. And you may want to heat them in the oven for a little bit before you do that. But they do need a lot of calcium. Laying hens have very high nutritional needs. And so you may want to do that. Grubs is another good calcium supplement for them. So definitely do that. Now, if they're just lay 1 or 2 eggs without a shell, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And sometimes when chickens are just starting to lay, they will do that. Or if they have taken a break, like let's say they took a break for the winter and then they're starting up again in the spring, you might see some shellless eggs. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if it becomes chronic, then you're going to want to keep an eye on that chicken. Make sure that they're getting the right nutrition. Make sure that they're not having some kind of respiratory thing or reproductive thing going on. The chicken asks, how do I deal with the loss of a bird? Well, like I said before, I think just knowing that chicken had a wonderful life when it was here, and that you actually gave that chicken a gift by caring for it while it was here. And then, giving yourself time. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, it was just a chicken. Don't worry about it. That's not a very good answer. It's a total invalidation of your feelings. We all handle grief differently, and it's very easy to get attached, and it's not a bad thing to get attached to an animal. I think it's a really good thing. So just make sure and validate your own feelings. So Abigail Pack asks, is it okay to not have a feeder in the coop, but only in the run under the coop? I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think that they need, as long as they have access to it during the day, they certainly don't need, they don't need food 24/7. They don't need food at night. Now, the only problem that you might come up against is rodents. And nobody wants to deal with that. So what I would do is, if you're going to feed them in the run, I would put the feed away at night to make sure that you don't have a problem with rodents. And Rhiannon just gave me a super chat with a super sticker saying thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. And I really appreciate you and the input that you've given to Chickenlandia. And I'm sure that, me talking about this today is going to help other people. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really going to try not to mess up your name. Yasiris? Yes. Cirrus Fernandez. Do chickens know not to eat ornamental or landscaping plants that might be bad for them? So my answer to that is it depends. Sometimes basically the more contained you have your chickens, the less likely they will have that instinct to know what is good or to know what's bad for them. Chickens that are kept in an enclosed run, like my chickens, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. My chickens are in an enclosed run. Their instinct isn't as high as chickens that are free ranged. And also if their feed is limited in some way, they have more of a tendency to eat whatever is available to them. And certainly if you bring it to them and like put it in a pile, they may eat it. So the other thing is chickens raised by a mother hen versus chickens raised in a brooder would have more of that instinct intact as well. So the answer is it depends. I would try to make sure that they don't have anything that would be poisonous to them. And you can usually find, like with a simple search, you can find what would be poisonous to them and what isn't. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes people think something is poisonous and it isn't, but it's best, it's fine to err on the side of caution in this circumstance. So yeah, it really just depends. Brilliant Creatures asks, are roosters rougher on hens in the spring? Yes, they are. They lose their mind in the spring. They do. They lose their mind. And it depends on the rooster too. And if you're having an issue with it, you might consider getting more hens. You can also possibly get some saddles for your chickens if they're just being really rough. So Matthew, I'm actually going to let the Chickenlandia presidential advisor answer that question. Matthew Anesi, answer that question, please, Kelsey. Okay, hold on. I'm just reading. If you have a question, if you can please post it in all caps, that helps me to see it better because I've got the chat and it's going pretty fast and sometimes I can't see. Oh, I got a question here that TC Hendrick asks, how is Cinnamon? Cinnamon is moving on to her next life. She is right now in my bathroom. I've got just a small light in there for her. Right now she's not suffering, but she's very old. And I actually I knew I was on borrowed time with her. She's going to be 10 years old, or she would be 10 years old in July. But she almost died a few months ago, and I gave her a homeopathic called Carbo Vegetabalis. And that homeopathic has a nickname. Gosh, some of you are just going to unsubscribe right now, but I'm telling you the truth. That homeopathic has a nickname called Corpse Reviver, and it's called that because it's like the last resort. If something is dying, you just give it to them right then and hope for the best. And I gave her this homeopathic a few months ago, and I think it was maybe about 6 months ago or 4 months ago. And I mean, she was like about to die, and I gave it to her and she bounced back. It was incredible. Almost immediately, she just like came to life, started eating. I put her back out with the flock. She pecked and scratched and was super happy. But I knew that likely I would lose her very soon. So right now she's really old, and she had a tumor. She was being treated by a vet, but I stopped that treatment because she was not handling it very well. She was getting antibiotics. They were making her sick. And I decided I'm not going to continue with this. So I hate to say that, like I'm going to talk about it in a video coming up soon. But we have a lot of transitions going on in Chickenlandia right now. And I want to take a moment just to thank you guys for being so patient. Bucktalk has been a little bit sporadic lately. The posting of my videos have been a little bit sporadic, and that's because I have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Not to mention that this is baby chick season, and it's a very busy time for me. I get a lot of questions, inquiries. I'm doing interviews. And I just signed up to do another little mini course with Mother Earth News that's going to be on their website. And it's going to be chicken keeping for kids or something like that. So that should come out in May. And so that's another thing that I'm working on. So I appreciate you guys' patience. But yeah, we are definitely in transition right now and with a lot of stuff happening that I will tell you about as soon as I can. But it's interesting that, at this time when so many things are changing, also Cinnamon is probably not going to be with us for much longer. And that will really be a moment for me because she was in my first flock and she's the last one. So I will definitely be talking to you guys about that because I'm going to need therapy. Okay, I'm just all right, so I got a question from Honeyvale Great Danes. How do you keep your water clean? And how often do you use apple cider vinegar in the water? So you can use apple cider vinegar daily. I would not use it, or you can supplement with it every few days. People do it different ways. It certainly does help to keep your water clean. I would not use it when it's really, really hot. That is a time when you don't want to use it. And it's certainly if you're having like a heat wave, you can switch to a week or two of vitamins, electrolytes, and probiotics during that time to make sure that they're getting good hydration. I change my water every day, sometimes twice a day, because I have ducks. So ducks make the water very, very dirty. And so I definitely have to change their water every single day. And in the summer, I go out there twice a day for sure, sometimes even more than that. So really what you want to do is just keep an eye on it and use your common sense, make sure that it stays clean. Obviously, if you have like nipple waterers, you don't have to clean it as often. But if you have the gravity waterers, then you need to make sure that it stays clean, especially on the bottom. It can really collect a lot of film. There can be like a film in it that's hard to see, and you need to make sure that that isn't there. And certainly that there's no mildew growing in it or anything like that, or moss or anything like that. Lisa Camp says, how are your chicks? They are doing well. I have 3 little chicks. I have a showgirl. I have a silky, 2 silkies, and one of them's definitely a little boy. Hannah Gomez, is it okay that my hen is sneezing a lot, or should I be worried and do something? Well, it might be nothing. It could be like dust in their nair, or some particle in their nair that they're just trying to get out. Or it could be that they have a respiratory thing going on. It would be impossible for me to know just from that. And also I'm not a licensed veterinarian, so I can't diagnose for you. But I would keep an eye on her, and certainly if she's starting to act, she's starting to slow down. If she doesn't want to eat or drink, if she's looking droopy, if she's staying away from the flock when she's normally socializing, like those are all the things that you want to keep an eye on. I do have a video called Chickens Sneezing, Here's What to Do. And that might help you with some things that you can do just to kind of give them a nice boost during that time and hopefully get them through it. There's also a podcast. I don't know the episode number, but it's also about respiratory issues in chickens. And that podcast is actually, that's a good one with a lot of information. So if you can find that, it's on all the major podcast apps. Or you may be able to find it on my YouTube page. Chili Pepper says, I'm so glad I'm here. My baby hen has droopy wings and does not run a lot. She also has a pale comb. Sorry about that. I would say, chickens are supposed to be very active. They're supposed to be very curious. And if that is not happening, then I would be concerned that your chicken might have something going on. And if that's the case, I would just do the rest method, and that is REST. I have a video about it. It's an acronym, REST. And sorry, I'm getting texts here and I don't know how to turn off the bell. So you may not even be able to hear it, but you probably can. So the R stands for remove from flock. The E stands for electrolytes, vitamins, and probiotics. The S stands for scrambled egg, and the T stands for temperature control. And all of that will make sense after you watch the video. And there's also a podcast about it. It's the REST method, and it's just what I do whenever I have a sick chicken. It is supportive care. It's not veterinary care, but you can do it while you're deciding what you need to do if you need to seek veterinary care or continue to do research to find out what's going on. All right, guys, I am going to answer one more question. I'm sorry if I did not get to your question today. I get lots of questions, and it goes by really fast. Carmen A asks, how did you introduce your chickens and ducks? So ducks seem to be a lot easier to integrate into a flock of existing ducks and chickens. But I always follow an integration process. And what I do is I keep them separate but seeing for a period of time. So what that means is I have a run within my chicken run, and they can see through it, but they can't get to each other. So I have the new chickens inside the run and the existing flock outside of the run. So they can go up to each other. They can check each other out. They can talk to each other through the run. They can kind of work posture and work out their issues with each other and kind of work out a little bit of that pecking order with each other. And then after a week or two, depending on the type of chicken that you're dealing with and depending on the personality of your flock, I can usually then integrate them together. And there will be squabbling, but it's not very, very bad like it would be if you just threw chickens in together. Now, ducks have always been easier, but if you just throw them together, they will fight, and you don't want that. So you want to do it very slow. Okay. And I do have a video about that. It's called How to Introduce New Chickens to Your Flock. And I don't think that's the name. I just can't remember the name, but I will post that in the description and in the show notes for you so that you can see just how step by step how I do it. So guys, thank you so much for being here today. Remember, if you want to submit a question to Bucktalk, go to my website, welcome to chickenlandia.com. Go to the contact section and click Ask a Chicken Question. And I can't answer every single question, but I love receiving them, and I do read them all. And while you're there, join my mailing list, join Chickenlandia Nation. So I want to thank my moderators today, 13 Moons Homestead, thank you so much for being here. And Chickenlandia Presidential Advisor, thank you so much for being here and also for co-producing this episode. Thank you to Talking to Grows for editing this episode, and to Double M Ranch Designs for the wonderful podcast art. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review it, because that really helps me. It really helps my podcast to get seen, okay, and heard. And also, one last thing I want you guys to remember: you are always welcome in Chickenlandia. Bye.